All right, here we go. It's episode 106 of the Daily Puck Drop here. It's Monday, May 20th. Yes, we're doing something new. You're like, God, you look different. Are you taller? God, I wish I was taller. I would do anything to be taller. No, we're doing it standing up today. Why? I don't know. My knees hurt. My hips hurt. Just everything hurts, and I'm hurt sitting down too much. Now I know what the immediate response would be. Well, why don't you lose some weight? You know what? That's right. I need to. I desperately need to, and I need to fix my headphones. Yeah, was doing it standing up today. It's a different look, right? A little different perspective for you here on the Daily Puck Drop. Hashtag the DPD, which you can of course watch and listen everywhere. One stop shop is just pucksports.com, and of course also on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, Amazon Music, wherever you find your podcast. It is Monday, so we'll give you 25, 30 minutes of the Daily Puck Drop, the DPD, and then we'll set you up for the rest of the day as Jim Duquette will stop on by. We'll release that episode coming up at 1 o'clock today. Get a Nationals perspective there on baseball. Also, William Kruger, the crafty lefty. And you know, Bill, he's going to have something salty today. He's going to bitch about something. And he's going to be screaming at the clouds. Back in my day, we didn't take people out. So we'll get his thoughts on the Mariners, what they did this weekend, losing 2 out of 3 to the Baltimore Orioles. And clearly, obviously, you can see the difference between the M's and the Orioles, and it's fairly obvious to anyone. Both have very good pitching, but the biggest difference is just the offense and just the lack of the offense there for the Mariners, which obviously ends up kind of costing them again in the series. Kirby, again, just wasn't all that sharp, but they lose 2 out of 3. They'll switch gears. Now they go to the Yankees, which, again, we talked about this last week, just what a stretch of ball games this was going to be for the Mariners, a 10-game road trip, and, you know, the first 7 against 2 teams that, no doubt you're going to compete with in the playoffs, and 2 teams that are just, frankly, better than you, all around better than you. We'll get to that in a second, because we'll touch on the M's. We'll touch on the Seahawks OTAs are opening up today. The PGA Championship, got a thought on that one. Bobby Wagner, an issue there. And then with Hey, What the Puck, a story on Michael Malone that I want to touch on. Quickly, though, let's start with the NBA and we'll move on. Thank you, Dallas Mavericks, from everybody in Seattle. The only thing that we care about in Seattle is whoever's playing the Dust Bowlers, please knock them off and eliminate them as fast as you possibly can. I didn't think the Mavericks were up for it. I didn't think that they'd have enough. Oklahoma City, 1 through 12 as a team, as a whole, I thought were much better than the Dallas Mavericks. But the Mavericks with Luka, the leg not good when they're not good, but when they win, all of a sudden the leg's not a problem. But congrats to the Mavericks, and thank you from the bottom of our heart of everybody in Seattle, is because it is a glorious day, and however you celebrate the day that they get eliminated from the playoffs, they can go F off. And again, I just will say this over and over again. I don't understand a Seattle sports fan at all that says, well, it's in the past and I don't have hatred for Oklahoma City. Everybody should have sports hatred for that team. So we are all lucky and glad that the Mavericks were the ones to knock them off. And it should be noted, Mark Cuban was one of the 2 owners, along with Paul Allen. Did not, what was it? The vote for relocation or vote for the sale. So thank you to Mark Cuban. Cheers to you. Thank you for being a good steward. Thank you for always having Seattle's back. And Mavericks, Luka, Kyrie, even you, Kyrie, who believes that the earth is flat. I salute you, because you have knocked them off and we don't have to worry about them. How about Minnesota going into Denver Game 7 and beating those guys? Anthony Edwards is, even though he didn't play well in Game 7, Anthony Edwards just a true superstar. And what is evident with the Nuggets is, as good as Murray and Jokic are, Michael Porter ain't that guy for the third dude. They've needed a third dude. You kind of thought Michael Porter was the third dude. I know they won a championship last year, but they've always been lacking that third guy. And at times Porter is that guy. But just going back to what Minnesota did, and just a great story. They have been consistently all year the best team in that Western Conference. The national stage of fringe NBA fans are getting to see the Ant-Man even more. and get to see how good he is despite not having a great game yesterday. This guy's a superstar. They go in now to the Western Conference Finals against Dallas. I think they're going to be the favorite against Dallas. Should be the favorite against Dallas. And they get to the NBA Finals. You've got a real opportunity for Anthony Edwards, who is, again, garnering all this attention to put himself even up more on the national stage. That for those of you, and I get that you're still kind of on the fence with the NBA, jump back on and watch this guy play. Because if you get annoyed, and you hear it all the time, I don't like the way these guys play. I don't like the style of the game. They don't play defense. They don't play hard. This guy is the complete opposite of that stereotype for you, because he is all try hard, and he's the best player on the floor. But he plays like he's the last guy on the bench. He will die for loose balls. He plays defense. He rebounds. He just does it all. And he's got this vibrant personality. He's got a megawatt smile. He's athletic as hell. He can shoot. There's just not a weakness in the game there for Anthony Edwards. Does he look like Michael Jordan? Yeah, he does at times. Do I secretly want the rumor of him being the love child of Jordan to be right? Yeah, I do. I want that as well. But Minnesota's a really good feel-good story. And not just a feel-good story, it's just that they've got the most dynamic player in the league right now that is just so much fun to watch. So in the Western Conference Finals, and at the same time, Luka's fun to watch. The only thing I don't like about Luka is this just too much bitching and moaning about every foul that he doesn't get. And then when they lose, he tends to like limp off the floor. And when they win, there's no limping. But I do ultimately like Luka. It is kind of funny to watch him operate at times, and it feels like he's in slow motion, that he's really unathletic, but he can always get a shot off, and he can always get to the rack, and he can always facilitate. It's high level basketball. Offensively, they're great. The advantage Minnesota's going to have is they're just better on the defensive side. Not like Dallas isn't bad. I mean, they're good on defense, especially in the postseason. They've been good on defense, but the difference of the series will be Minnesota's more balanced, probably on both sides of the floor. And then the Eastern Conference Finals. I thought the NBA was rigged. How's NBA rigged guy doing? Because NBA rigged guy, it tells me that the lottery's always shifted to New York, and that the series, all the calls will go to the Knicks. And that the Knicks, because the league wants the Knicks and Celtics in the West or the Eastern Conference Finals. So is NBA rigged guy okay? How's he doing this morning, this afternoon, this evening, whatever you're listening or watching? Did they bring it up today? Did they talk about how the NBA is rigged? Because if the NBA was rigged, they would have done everything in their power to get the Knicks, into the Eastern Conference Finals. But the Pacers, with how they play offensively, too much. Knicks just had too many injuries, and it ultimately caught up to them. All right, that's it for the NBA. Let's head over to the Mariners right now. Bet-M's under is at 7-10 and 1 right now. We went 1-2 against the Orioles this weekend. The run total tonight for the Mariners against the Yankees is 8. The pitching matchup, Logan Gilbert 3-2 with a 3.07 ERA against Marcus Stroman. Stroman 3-2 with a 3.33 ERA. Mariners are catching these guys at the wrong time. Yankees are just, they've been playing well all season, but they are playing awesome right now. Last 10 games for New York, they're 8-2. Their batting average as a team is 272. Their team ERA is at 2.22. They're outscoring their opponents by 25 runs. Jesus. And this is, of course, a hitter's park. So we'll see what the pitching staff can do against this lineup and how they respond to playing in the big city, the big market team, another playoff caliber team. 3 more games until we get to the 50, the 50 game mark. And we'll talk to Jim Duquette later today about this, and even get, Bill Kruger's thoughts. Most of these GMs and front office people, this is what they look at. They get to 50 games, they reevaluate, they see where they're at. Now, we can do this probably, the next few days when we get actually to 50, but we can look at it now. They're at 47 games, and they are who they are. I mean, they're 25-22. It's unbelievable that they're a game and a half up on Texas, but that's because the Rangers and the Astros have struggled. But the Mariners are a flawed but good team. Flawed in terms of just offensively, we know their struggles and we know their issues. I don't think we need to go through it all the time. It is what it is. And unless it gets addressed at the deadline with player acquisition, this is who they're going to be. Just every game, every series is going to be the same. Their pitching's got to be lights out for the most part, because their offense is not going to give them much. And yes, help is on the way. Luke Raley's on an unbelievable stretch right now. That's going to cool down. Dylan Moore is going to cool down. JP will eventually come back. When they do get all the pieces together, one thing that you can say about them is that they are a much deeper team than they have been before. But they truly do lack kind of those thumpers in their lineup. Now, a thumper that they could eventually get back is the guy that hits second and patrols center field. So I think we're still waiting for Julio to get going. And I think we all cross our fingers that that young man will get it going. But yeah, after 47 games, this is probably based on what they did in the offseason. This is where I thought they'd be. I think a lot of people thought they would be here. I just think the one thing, and we've repeated this, I just think the one thing we didn't think is that they would be in first place in the American League West. But they are. And you know what? It's great. The other teams haven't played well. They've played better than the other teams in their division. Who cares if their run differential is 1? I'm not caught up in run differential. I know a lot of people are. If you look at where they're at compared to the other teams that are leading their divisions, like it's, they're at +1. And like, if you look at like the Yankees are at +79, the Orioles are at +58. I know it is a good indication how you win games. It is a true indication that you are winning games and you are dominating games and you're not winning close games all that much. Guardians are like that, +59. The Royals are at +55. And the Mariners are at +1. In fact, the Rangers are better than them at +6. But I don't get caught up in that as much as others. It's a win is a win. Whether you win 4-3 or 15-0, to me, it's a win. And the opposite is true. You lose 15-0, you lose 4-3, you lost the game. But we'll get Duquette's thoughts coming up on later on the podcast that will be released coming up at 1:00 today. Even Bill Kruger. We'll talk about, obviously, they're going to add in the bullpen, but they need to address the offense as well. And Jim Bowden at The Athletic wrote a story about, certain players that teams could target. Jim and Mr. Jim Duquette do the show together there at MLB Radio on Sirius XM. All right, playing time questions that possibly are coming up. Luke Raley, we mentioned him. God, he has been just fantastic. 386 is 438, 659 with an OPS of over 1,000. 3 home runs and 8 RBIs there in the month of May. 3 of the Yankees starters are all righties, so you're going to see Raley in there. I believe when they go play Washington, I think they're going to, at least how the schedule plays out now, according to ESPN.com, they're going to face 2 lefties, so maybe he's not going to be in there. I'm one of these guys. I get the platoon system, and it works out well, and they're probably going to go more to that, and that's fine if they do it. You can always use Raley late in a situation, but I also do like the fact of, hey, let's roll him out there even against a lefty and just see what happens. And there's 2 thoughts. There's 2 lines of thinking there, right? One, he's so hot that maybe this gives him confidence to go out there and pound a couple of lefties. The other side is, well, if he goes out there, faces a good lefty and looks terrible, then, it's going to be rough on him. And it's not going to be a good result. And that's going to be, that could hurt his confidence. I don't know how much would it hurt Luke Raley's confidence, but we shall see. Anyways, regardless of what they do, Luke Raley has earned himself so much more playing time. And he's, talked about at the beginning of the season that it was a struggle for him not to play and to not get consistent playing time. And then the fact is that you've given him a more consistent playing time. It's been real good for him and real good for him to watch him continue to perform defensively. He's been good. He's a terror on the base paths. and he's just a hitting machine right now. And then for Dylan Moore, JP, I think, is in New York. He's with the team. He likely is going to be activated here real soon. What do you do with Dylan Moore? Well, I mean, I know he's played well since the JP injuries at 234, 315, 500, OPS at 815. You play him in left field, JP goes back to shortstop. I know there's this thought, hey, he needs to play more at shortstop. No, he doesn't. I mean, JP, again, this is the same conversation we got into hitting leadoff with JP. The guy has too much equity built into this team, too much of a leadership equity built into this team to not have him get his old role back, one at leadoff and then, of course, at shortstop. And again, Dylan Moore just provides you a guy that you can bounce around all these different places. I mean, he's invaluable. Dylan Moore is an invaluable piece to this Mariners ball club. A guy, a jack of all trades that can simply just play everywhere. Hell, I'd play him more at third base. Move some things around. Get him a little bit more playing time. I mean, Urias is the guy that's the odd man out in this whole thing. With all these guys coming back, with Polanco coming back, but he's likely headed to the IL. They haven't made it official yet, but Jonathan Clase has been recalled. He will go to the IL. But Dylan Moore, just get creative with him because he can play in so many different spots. Just get him in the lineup as much as you possibly can. Just not at shortstop. Once JP is ready to go and healthy, JP is your starting shortstop. Seahawks OTAs, their official team or their offseason team activities, practice, like they call it. Let's see, practice 1 gets underway in Renton on Monday as we record this, on Monday, May 20th. Not open to the media. They do have one that's open to the media on Wednesday. I mean, it's OTAs, it's practice. I don't know. I mean, want to break down OTAs? We will. We'll get to the OTAs and some thoughts on what they do. I do, though, this has nothing to do with Mike McDonald and their OTAs, but I do want to get a piece of audio that came from this past weekend. Bobby Wagner. And it's just, I don't understand the Bobby Wagner front office issues, because this is now the second time. He's with Kay Adams, who does a show for FanDuel. And he's with Kay Adams and just asking about the relationship between Bobby and the front office in Seattle.
Like, what is your relationship after so much greatness and joy and reaching that highest place with them, but then how it ended? Like, what's your relationship with Seattle?
My relationship with the city is always amazing, like always great. My relationship with the players and the staff and the people that work there is always great. I just think that some of the upper management didn't handle things the right way, and it is what it is. It's part of the business. You always have those things, and I'm sure they'll get worked out over time. I'm not somebody who holds grudges.
Mm-hmm.
Or anything like that. So I think that's kind of where it stands.
I just don't understand what is the issue between Bobby Wagner and the front office? Like, I don't. They've hired a new coach. They have moved on. But yeah, this is now the second time in which the first time he went to the Rams, remember there was the issue, didn't like how it was handled, didn't like how he was told or not told. This is the problem, though, with Bobby Wagner. I still think he's doing this where he acts as his own agent, right? But then he came back and everything was okay. Then they make a move here with Carroll. And as much as we like Bobby Wagner, I mean, we could go through all of these, PFF stats to look at him. If you want, and this is not a knock, and to say that, because if Bobby Wagner were watching this or listening to this, he'd be like, you're an idiot. You show me where I was slow or late getting to plays. I mean, he's a step slow. He's not the player he was a few years ago. They need somebody that's more athletic at middle linebacker, more productive at middle linebacker. And there is a difference when you cannot cite tackle numbers to justify a middle linebacker in football anymore, because it's where are you making the tackle? Did you make the tackle at the line of scrimmage? Did you make the tackle behind the line of scrimmage? Did you make the tackle 5 yards down the field? If you're consistently making the tackle 5, 6, 7 yards, down the field, does it really matter that you rack up all those tackles? Every player hits a point in their career where just athletically they're not good anymore. They're not as fast anymore, as quick anymore. Part of the reason why Mike Macdonald needed to go in a different direction was because of just the physical play. I do think having Bobby around too. Again, we went through this with Macdonald of taking down, the pictures and all that kind of stuff. And we're not rehashing that. We're not rehashing that decision. But Bobby Wagner is a link to that team, to that former team. So when you're trying to build a culture and you're trying to build a different environment, it might be wise to move on from someone who was as big a part of that environment than anyone. I mean, as big as Pete Carroll was, Bobby Wagner was right there. I don't think that's why Macdonald moved on, or John Schneider and the crew moved on from him. If he was still, at the top elite level of playing football at that middle linebacker position, then I think Mike Macdonald would have kept him. And I think John Schneider would have kept him, but he's just not there anymore. But I want to know what the rub is between Wagner and like Schneider in this front office. Where is the rub? What's the issue that those two have? I mean, he did say it there himself, and maybe this is just a big nothing burger and we're making too much of it. I mean, he did say there, this is not something that is going to like prevent me from coming back, 5, 10 years from now and being honored by the Seahawks. But I guess I'm just saying it's kind of a weird relationship and situation now that has not just happened once, but has happened twice on his way out of town, where, I don't know, maybe he just doesn't like John Schneider. He doesn't maybe like how the way John Schneider has told him that they're not going to offer him a new contract. And he mentioned it there. It is a business. It is a business. It's hard though. It's, like anything, if you've been at one place for a very, very long time. I mean, I was at a place for a very, very long time. It does come down to business decisions. And you would think though, at times, like your personal and how much like blood, sweat, equity you put into, let's say any company, if you've been there for 15 plus years or 10 plus years, or, but Wagner was, 12 plus years there for Bobby. Yeah. There's probably some hurt feelings, from him and maybe how you've been told news that you're not coming back, but there is no business as cutthroat there as the National Football League. All right, over to golf, and I won't bore you with the details. We'll announce the winners tomorrow of the PGA Championship pool that we did with our first place prize going to Chambers Bay, second place prize going to the home course, and third place going there to John Howie Steak. I mean, I can probably pick it up here in a second and announce it. We'll announce it, though, officially tomorrow. I want to contact these people first. So it was great. We'll do it again for the U.S. Open Championship, and then we'll do it again for the Open Championship as well. PGA Championship, I'll be honest with you, I've never been a huge PGA Championship fan of all of the majors. This is probably the one. I mean, I watch it a lot, but this is the one that I probably least watch the most, because it's generally just played on another PGA Tour like course in which they try to shoot as low as they possibly can. And this was just the case again. I'm sick and tired of just kind of watching all these tournaments being placed in like the Midwest/South at this time of year. I don't understand the PGA's stance on some of this stuff. Like, their schedule for the tournament is so backwards. Like, they go to the West Coast in January and February, when that's not when they should be on the West. They should be on the West Coast like now and into the summer. But yet they go to places that where the weather this time of year is terrible. It's either going to rain, thunderstorms, lightning, all these issues. And of course, they get heavy rain there. What does the heavy rain do to this course? It softened it up. And it was target practice out there for these guys. Here's why I don't like Valhalla. There's just nothing memorable about the course. There's just nothing. What's the signature hole? None. There's nothing difficult about it. There's nothing appealing to it. And really, you look back of all the great tournaments that they have apparently had there. Okay, let's look at the history of the PGA Championship. Kenny Perry back in the early 90s, late 80s. It's memorable because Kenny Perry sat up there in the booth at CBS thinking he had won and no playoff, and then realized as the putt was made on the final hole, oh, he's in a playoff and didn't warm up properly, and then didn't have time to warm up because he thought he did, and he had to go play right away, and then he loses in a playoff. So that's a memory, I guess, from Valhalla. The other one is the other famous one is Tiger Woods getting pushed by Bob May, which was great, and it was great to watch Tiger, and Bob May was fun, but it's like Bob May. And then this tournament in 24 will not be remembered as Xander Schauffele winning his first major. It never will be remembered as that. And it's unfortunate for Xander because he's an amazing golfer. He finally put it all together for 4 days. And the story should be all the things that he answered because he has had the reputation of a guy that cannot close. He's going to get to the weekend and he's going to fall apart. And he's going to, especially on Sunday and especially like on the back nine, he's going to fall apart. And he did none of that. Now, he tried to a little bit, but he didn't do it. Look how much trouble he got into 18, but he survived it because the course isn't hard. There's nothing difficult about it. The thing that I aesthetically just did not like, and it's just such a golf viewing snob thing to say, when you're watching on TV and literally almost every TV shot has power lines in it. I don't know. I know it sounds so stupid. It's just like, where are we playing this? Why am I seeing power lines in every TV shot? Are we at a Muni? I'd expect that from a municipal course, not a championship type course. That's a minor thing, but it just annoys me. But you got to understand, I have a lot of things that annoy me and weird things that annoy me. But just the golf isn't hard. I mean, 21 under, DeChambeau shoots 20 under and doesn't win. 21 under is that's just way too easy. That little short par 4 in which Jordan Spieth tried to drive it is at 7 or 13. I mean, that is such an easy hole for these guys. They lay up, wedge in, boom, out with a birdie. I mean, this was like a gentleman's, country club course where all the members want to shoot low. It reminded me of Coeur d'Alene. You ever played Coeur d'Alene Resort, which is a great course. It's awesome. It's fun. But it's designed for you to shoot low. Like they've got the fairways that kind of like that are that like funnel the ball into the middle of the fairway. You get free drops from the juniper trees, and the juniper trees are everywhere on the course, but they say anytime you hit in the junipers, that's a free drop. That's what they played on. They played on the Coeur d'Alene Resort this week. So not a tough test at all. PGA Championship needs to pick it up. They need to make it harder. Do you have to make it as brutal as the U.S. Open? No, but make it a little bit more difficult for these guys. It would be nice. Finally, we'll wrap up with Hey, What the Puck. I love this guy. I know for some, he rubs people the wrong way. And this is Denver Nuggets head coach, Michael Malone.
How hard is it just to absorb a loss like this after going ahead by 20?
Next question, man. The season's over. That's what's hard. Fuck being up 20. Season's over. You don't understand that. The season's over. It's hard. Stupid ass questions.
Now everybody's coming to the defense of Peter Brady. First of all, listen to his voice crack.
How hard is it just to absorb a loss like this after going ahead by 20?
I think it is a stupid question. I agree with Michael Malone. It's dumb. You didn't need to. First of all, he's 13 years old.
How hard is it just to absorb a loss like this after going ahead by 20?
He's 13. You don't have to add in he knows that they were up by 20. He's well aware that they were up by 20 points. Knowing Coach Malone, Michael, knowing the situation that you guys were in, how do you process where you're at in the end result and just the offseason, and how difficult is it to process it right now, and how difficult do you think it will be to process throughout the whole offseason? But it was a dumb question. And I like how he answered it. I don't care. Like, people coming down on Michael Malone, whatever. It was a stupid question. You need to preface, how hard do you think it is? It's hard because he just lost game 7 at home. It's hard because they're the defending NBA champs. That's why it's hard. Whether they never had a 20-point lead and had a 5-point lead and they ended up losing. It's hard because they were pegged as the team to repeat. They had game 7 on their home floor. All of it's hard. He's right. The 20 points doesn't make it harder. It was a stupid question. It's okay to call out people when they ask stupid questions. We all ask stupid questions. I asked one of the dumbest questions in the history. Well, lots of them. I have too many dumb questions that I've asked over the years. Terrible. That I know when it's coming out of my mouth, I'm like, well, that's stupid, but I have committed to this question and I'm all in now and I can't get out of it. But yeah, you ask stupid questions, you do stupid questions all the time. Hey, what the puck? I'll leave it on this. I can't really go into too much detail on this one because I'll get in trouble, probably by our president of our Little League board, but we had to sit through I'm on the board for Ballard. I really don't know what my position is, honestly. It's player agent, but I have to do all the paperwork for All-Stars. I sat through one of these, and if anyone's ever done this before, you know what I'm talking about. I had to sit through a district meeting last night with the All-Star baseball and softball tournaments that are coming up. I'll just say this. You want to know what hell looks like, feels like? That's hell. That was hell. That was just too much. Just too much. I mean, my God. There was at one point, and please, people, and you know who you are, don't get mad at me. There was at one point where there was a 20-plus minute discussion on pieces of paper that were a waiver for what type of helmet is appropriate and whether the helmet has a sticker on it and it's less than 20% of the helmet with the sticker on. This was 20 plus minutes of what kind of proper paperwork do we need? And then an argument of where should we put the piece of paper? I mean, I couldn't have got out of that meeting fast enough. Just fast enough. Hey, but good luck to all the All-Star Little League teams around the area. That's it for the Daily Puck Drop. Coming up later at 1 o'clock, we'll release episodes of Jim Duquette, Sirius XM MLB Network Radio, brought to you by Flat Stick Pub. Also, we will release William Kruger from Root Sports, all brought to you by Rise Above Foundation. We'll talk to you tomorrow, and as always, we promise to be better.
No shirt, no shoes, no dice.
Would anybody like to smoke some pot?
Yeah.
I was born to love you. I was born to lick your face. I was born to rub you. But you were born to rub me first.
What do you need my address for? We'd like to send out a mailer.
Mother of mercy, I don't speak Japanese!